Hi everyone, my name is Paloma Fotley and welcome to the second hangout for Maker Connections. In this hangout we're going to be talking with Celeste Flores at the Crucible. You just saw her using the forge, which is so interesting and awesome. I almost didn't want to go live because I was having so much fun watching it. So just to do some housekeeping, welcome, glad to have you. If you want to ask questions live throughout the broadcast, you can do so on the Google Plus community page or the Hangout page. We're really excited to have your questions fed through live, and I'll try to answer as many of them as possible. So please go ahead and send them through there. Maker Connections is a hangout where we're going to be meeting people who will be exhibiting at Maker Faire. We're very excited to be doing so and to get to know the people behind the project. So I'm very happy to take you all along with me when we go to the Crucible. In a few minutes, she's using a power hammer right now, which is awesome. And oh my gosh, it looks so cool. I'm so excited. Okay, so yeah, just the commenting system, you can go ahead and ask questions through the Google Plus community page, and I will try to get as many of those through as possible. And yeah, I think we're pretty much ready to go through to the Crucible. She's just finishing up a few things there. Yeah, so let's see if we can go ahead and get them back on through here. Oh, it looks so cool. Hi!
Hello!
That was so cool!
Awesome!
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are. Welcome to Maker Connections, and tell us who you are and how you got involved with all that cool stuff.
So my name is Celeste. I am an instructor of blacksmithing and ceramics here at the Crucible. I started out going to the Academy of Art University, and I started out as a drawing and painting major. And then, so 10 years ago when I started there, I really thought I wanted to be a painter, and I was required to take a sculpture class where they did a little bit of bronze casting, some ceramics, some plaster carving. And after I took that class, I couldn't stay away from sculpture. I was there from 7 a.m. to midnight sometimes. And so I ended up switching over to sculpture, and I came about blacksmithing because, again, I was required to take a metalworking class, just a general metalworking class, and they had a forge and some hammers, and I thought that I'm going to start by learning this. Just this semester, that's what I'm going to focus on, and I just never was away from the forge after that. So they kept telling me, if you want to learn blacksmithing, you have to come to the Crucible, which is what I did, and I started interning and TAing, and that's how I really started to learn.
That's awesome. That's such a great story. So what do you have next to you there? It looks like something in a box there.
So this is the spoon. So this is the projects. You saw me working. I was holding up every time after I hammered, I held up what I did. So this is a step-by-step progression for making a spoon. As you can tell, it takes a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of heat just to mount this mass here. So it starts out looking like this. You build up a mass, you make it kind of roundish, and then you flatten it all out to make a spoon. So we're going to be making some spoons at Maker Faire. They're fun and they're really difficult to do, so they're fun to watch people make.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're going to be at Maker Faire both days, right?
I'm going to be there both days. I'm going to be doing blacksmithing Saturday and Sunday morning, and I am going to be doing a ceramic raku on Saturday and Sunday afternoon. So a raku is where you take red hot pieces of ceramics, you put it in combustible material like newspaper, and then it starts on fire, you put a lid on it, and you get really, really beautiful patinas or surface coloring from the smoke.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to go check that out for sure.
Yeah.
So how long have you been at the Crucible?
I've been at the Crucible 4 years, started as a Create member, so just using their space. And then I realized what cool things the people who are volunteering and working here were doing, so I started taking classes and volunteering and interning. And that's really when I started getting involved, I'd say.
That's awesome. So besides blacksmithing, what else do they do at the Crucible?
There's 18 different departments,
Wow.
so a lot of different things. Glass blowing is one of the most popular departments. We also do glass flame working. We have a machine. We have many different types of welding: TIG welding, MIG welding, arc welding, woodworking. We make furniture in that class quite a lot, joinery, mold making, so if you want to make multiples of something. There's kinetics, so making sculptures move. We love to play with fire, so flame effects and fire performance. And then I don't think I've got everything, but neon as well, so bending the glass and then making it light up.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun. That's so great. Okay, so and then I hear that you have a summer camp at the Crucible as well?
Yes. So summer camp starts at the age of 8, although a lot of the classes don't start till 12 and a couple are 14 and up. Blacksmithing starts at 12 and up. Ceramics starts at 8 and up. And we have week-long classes where you can come in, you can learn blacksmithing or glass blowing or flame working, and they're very, very similar to the adult classes. So basically you're learning the same things as an adult, but within a summer camp setting.
Awesome. And where can people go if they want to find out more about how to get involved with the Crucible?
Thecrucible.org.
And we should mention that the Crucible is in the East Bay, right? It's in Oakland?
It is in the East Bay, right by West Oakland. We are a non-profit. I don't know if we mentioned that, but yeah, non-profit industrial arts.
That's so exciting and awesome. I'm so happy that you guys are so close to us. I'm going to have to make my way down and take a class soon.
Oh, it's fun.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about some more of the tools that you have in the shop there?
Okay, so I'm going to move my anvil here. This is the anvil that I usually use. So everyone knows blacksmiths use a hammer and an anvil, but there's other tools that we can use. We basically use whatever tools we have at our disposal in order to shape the metal. So what I have here, pick this up, right over here actually, sorry. This is the fly press. So there's dies over here. There's lots more dies. So you can make, basically you can make dies of whatever shape you want, and then you can press those dies into the metal. And this is really great because you can get really, really precision shapes, and you can get a lot of force. If you don't have a lot of force in your own arm, you can get a lot more force with the leverage of this tool here.
Great. So what is that tool typically used for, like when you, like if you're, or do you use that when you're making a spoon, or what kind of things do you use that for?
You can use it for anything. So those flat dies that were on it, you can use to flatten out the spoon. I've used it, you can make it textures with it. They're really nice for textures because you can get it really precise. You can get those textures exactly where you want it. You can use it for cutting material. You can use it for punching through material. You can basically, anything you can think of, you can probably make a tool for this and get the metal to shape it the way you want. Think of it as like two dies, almost like making a, pressing a mold around the metal.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Let me move this because this is hot. And this, what you saw me using this is the Nasal. It's a power hammer. It's basically the equivalent of having a 200-pound hammer at the end of my arm. I'm not a very big person. I'm maybe 5'1", so I'm pretty petite, and sometimes I need a lot of force. And this allows me to use a lot of force even if I don't have it in my own arms, and it also allows me to move metal quicker, so I can make bigger projects with this. And it's one of my favorites, probably the best machine I've ever used. It's an amazing machine.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Huge too. Oh my gosh.
It is gigantic, yeah. And loud, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And I'll show you one more thing. So blacksmiths make their own tools. So I was using a punch earlier that I had made. A lot of them make their own hammers. There's a good chance we'll be making hammers at Maker Faire. And then I have these tongs, which I had made. See here. So I can make tongs, and I can make them to be the exact shape and size that I want, the weight that I want. So just to make tools to fit my needs within the smithy.
That sounds really convenient, especially when you're working on a project that isn't so cookie cutter and you need something specifically, you know, for that one project.
Yeah, and hardware, and I mean anything. I mean, you can make almost anything you can think of out of metal. You can make with blacksmithing. It's how before the Industrial Revolution and before all the machinery came along, that's how most metal things were made, is they were forged.
Yeah, that's really great, and I think it could be a really great class for a lot of the makers out there to take, because to understand where, you know, this bolt that you just buy at the store, like what goes behind making that, and also if you want to do custom projects, I think it's a really valuable class, and you kind of make back whatever you put into, you know, taking the class and what you can then use it for. So I really appreciate that. I love that. That's you know what you guys do there.
Yeah, you never. If you have a piece of metal, you can change the shape to make it whatever you want. So you don't need to find, like, if you need a 3/4 inch piece of metal, you don't have to have a 3/4 inch piece of metal. You can take a 1-inch piece of metal and make it a 3/4 inch piece of metal.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So what are you working on personally at the Crucible right now?
Okay, we're gonna pan you back here. Today I'm going to install my first stair rail. So this is the first stair rail I've ever made. There's a handrail that goes along with it too, but this is for 5 steps. This is all forged, so all of these were tapered out on the power hammer.
Wow.
And then it was welded within these pickets. So there's a lot of fabrication that goes into it, so cutting and welding and fitting pieces together, but all of these curves and stuff are forged out of flat pieces of metal.
Wow, yeah, that's beautiful. It looks so great. Like I love all the moving shapes and things like that. How long did that project take you?
Oh my goodness. I have been working on this for months now.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, probably a couple hundred hours at least. It's been
That's delayed gratification for you.
laborious.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So, like, how many years do you think you'd have to put into working on this before you'd be able to create something that's of that kind of intricacy and caliber?
Well, like I said, I started in sculpture 10 years ago, and it feels like I've been doing blacksmithing a long time because I started playing with a hammer and anvil about 7 or 8 years ago. But it was only 3 years ago that I started really learning when I was here. So I have some background in it, but as a blacksmith, I mean, I put lots of hours into this. But, I mean, if you really spend full time doing it, a few years, I would say.
Wow, that's amazing that it's only a few years, that you've been working on it. It looks so polished and
I
well put
feel
together.
like I've been working on it a lot more because, like I said, I played with a hammer and anvil, but it makes all the difference in the world to take classes.
Yeah, and you've been full time at the Crucible for that time, so you're kind of immersed in the culture of forging and creating.
Yeah, I had a regular full-time job as a business manager, and I quit that, and now I'm just blacksmithing right now, so I'm much happier that way.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fantastic. I think that a lot of people can relate to that too, working someplace where you're just not in your passion and then finally finding that job that totally makes everything worth it. So I think that's most makers' dreams.
Yeah, it's pretty different than managing a business. It's in the best sort of way.
Yeah, I should hope that you wouldn't have a power hammer in an office.
I could go for a power hammer in an office.
I bet, yeah, there's some interesting uses, the staple won't quite go through the paper, just put it in a power hammer. That's awesome. So just to kind of reiterate what you kind of have going on, you've got summer classes at the Crucible. They can take classes normally throughout the year, right, as well?
Yeah. They have, I mean, we have adult classes, but we have classes for youth that run throughout the year. Usually Monday afternoons we have after-school programs where you can take like a 2.5-hour class every Monday, so you can come after school to play with metal. And then it's open during the open houses for people who have taken classes, so the kids will come to the open houses sometimes and be playing here too.
That's awesome. I love that you have so many ways that people can get involved.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
And then at Maker Faire itself, you're going to be working on spoons, and then you had talked about doing was it Raiku? Raiku?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was just wondering, what was the name of the thing you're doing on Sunday? I forgot. I'm told it.
So we're going to be doing spoons. We're probably going to be doing some hooks and some forks, and then be doing some sort of team striking. Often we're working on hammers, but we'll definitely be doing some team striking. So with a big sledgehammer, which I'll show you in a minute, and that's because we don't always have access to a wonderful power hammer, and also because it works really well with blacksmithing if you have someone to work with. We do what's called team striking. You have a big sledgehammer, somebody holds the piece and directs you where to hit, and then usually 2 other people take turns swinging the sledgehammer, and you get a lot of force that way. So you have 3 people working on one piece, and you can move a lot more metal that way.
Great. That sounds, I feel like I've seen that in like TV shows and stuff, but I've never actually seen somebody doing that. I kind of figured that it was one of those things where they just do it, say they do it, but it doesn't actually work. But that's actually a really good method for getting a lot of force.
If you go on YouTube, there's lots of videos from the early 1900s of people like forge welding rings or big groups of people, like 5 people, working on forging a ship anchor. So that's how they used to do it. They didn't have these gigantic equipment to make ship anchors. They would just have a whole bunch of people with big sledgehammers swinging very hard.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like you get some pretty big guns real quick.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's one of the benefits is you get stronger.
Yeah, so you were talking about showing us the sledgehammer that you have?
Oh yeah. That's back here. So I won't be able to swing it right now, but the idea is you have a very low anvil. You have someone holding it, 2 people on either side. They show you where to swing, and then you all take turns coming down and swinging. You can tell, much bigger than what I was swinging before. You get a lot of force with this.
So
A
how
lot of
much
fun.
does that sledgehammer weigh?
This one is 8. We have up to an 18-pound sledgehammer, which I can't swing, but there'll probably be someone there swinging it.
Oh my gosh, what would you use an 18-pound sledgehammer for?
You want to swing the biggest hammer you can swing most of the time. If you can control it, the bigger hammer will give you more force most of the time. If you can swing a smaller hammer fast, because potential energy is mass times velocity squared, faster will actually give you more force than mass. So it's an equation, basically. Bigger, faster, and depending on what you can control, that's what you want. You want as much force as possible most of the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the physics behind it too. It totally makes sense based on the equation. Yeah, to have like a big mass or really, really fast small mass.
Exactly. Yeah, you get the most force.
Yeah, that's great. That's so awesome. I love to see like what you're doing there. And so when somebody comes to the Crucible for the first time, what classes do you recommend for them if they're just getting started?
You know, it depends on what they are interested in. There are certain classes that are really, really popular because you get something really cool really fast. So, like, there's a class called Wood and Metal, and it doesn't require any experience to take that class. You get to use the MIG welders. You get to do joinery in the woodworking department. And everybody draws out their own project, and I've seen really big, really professional-looking stuff come out of that class. Like someone made a barbecue table that was 12 feet long. It was set with, it looked almost like flooring planks on the top. It raised up on casters. So you can make really, really cool stuff in that class really quickly. But there's things like, oh, I didn't even mention bronze casting. Bronze casting you can't do very many places in the country. You can't cast your own bronze. So it's a really good opportunity to come here and learn what it's like. It's an art that's been used for thousands of years. So it's really cool to be able to do something like that with your own hands. You don't get that opportunity very often. So, but it just, honestly, it just depends on what you're interested in.
That's great. Yeah, that sounds like a really great class, and the technical ability involved in that barbecue table sounds like it would take a long time. For
It is
sure.
a really long process, and you really should have someone walking you through. So, yeah, that's a good class.
Yeah, and with the bronze casting, I mean, it sounds really convenient for people who maybe are more experienced but just don't have the tools to be able to do bronze casting.
Yeah, because there's a lot of artists out there who work in ceramic and then have somebody else cast their bronze. And most people who do bronze sculptures don't cast their own bronze. They take it to a foundry to get it cast. But this way you can come here and cast it yourself.
Wow, that's so valuable as a skill and as a resource to have that. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So what was, I just kind of want to know, what was your first like really big project at the Crucible?
At the Crucible, a friend of mine commissioned a 10-foot tall spine. So it was a forged spine. It was, it ended up being, because it has a curve, about 12 feet of metal is 3 inches by 1/4. And then I drilled 120 holes on the sides of it and riveted copper vertebrae onto it, and then it hangs from the ceiling of his apartment. So that was my biggest commission up until this one here.
Wow, yeah, that sounds really interesting with the copper, and the spiraling. That's an interesting visual. And to have that in your
Yeah.
apartment, bold choice.
Yes, he has. I mean, his apartment is absolutely full of art. He loves big pieces, and he loves really unusual pieces, which is nice because I can, I mean, just let my imagination run wild with when I do stuff for him.
Yeah, those are the good kind of friends to have.
Yeah, yeah, that's fun.
Supportive and willing to just kind of say, go with it. Just make me
Yeah,
something cool.
that's what he wants. Yeah.
That's great. That's so exciting. So just to kind of reiterate, you will be at Maker Faire for 2 days. You guys are going to have some really cool stuff. You're going to be doing metalworking live. So if anybody has some free time at the fair, that's where you should spend it, just watching people make stuff. I love watching that stuff. And
Yeah, and I'll be there with the rest of the Crucible, so we'll be doing torch cutting and glass blowing and, like I said, raku, so lots of cool stuff going on there.
that's awesome. And people can go to the Crucible online and see some really great, find out if you can take classes and where you can go to find out more information.
Uh-huh.
And then people can see you at the fair. I think it's going to be great. I'm so excited. I'm going to spend any of my free time over at the Crucible checking it out. So, and I just want to thank you again for being here. I've had so much fun learning about this stuff that I knew almost nothing about before. So I'm really excited to have all this new information, and thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to see you guys at the fair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right, I will see you at Maker Faire.
Bye.
And thank you everybody for watching. I welcome your comments online so we can see, and answer them later. And I look forward to seeing you later this afternoon at 1 o'clock. We're going to be doing another hangout at the Crucible, and I'm really excited about it. You're going to look for the link to the hangout on the hangout event page. So the event that you heard about, just go there. There's a link, and then you should be able to get in the hangout around 1 o'clock. Thanks so much, and I'll see you this afternoon.